are back with some more BSL action. We're going to be getting into our final game of the day. It's going to be OyA versus eOnzErG. Now, eOnzErG is the last Zerg. Our last Terran just got eliminated. I hope that eOnzErG at least has a good showing here.
Yeah, eOnzErG recently has had very good results against OyA, not just in the BSL. He did beat OyA not too long ago in the round of 8 there in the round robin, but also in, I think, RCG, it must have been, and probably other tournaments. He's just always cracking OyA open, and eOnzErG, ZvP, I mean, he is a force to be reckoned with. Just in general, aggressive Zergs are so hard to play against, especially in a matchup like PvZ where everything can fall apart in a matter of seconds. You know, like you go for that gate first, then suddenly there's a bunch of lings all in your gate dies, and then they run into your base. Situations like that happens all the time, and eOnzErG is the type of player to pull the trigger ASAP and just punish you for being overly greedy or for not being solid enough in the early game. So definitely this is going to be an uphill battle for OyA.
We do have the maps picked. There was another ban for Reap the Storm, ban for Optimize. Our first map is going to be Eclipse coming up. We're just waiting to get into that game. It's going to be the first time we see Eclipse as our first map, and they played this last time, and I think that was the game where the cannon just got permanently denied over and over.
Yeah, I mean, that does sound like an eOnzErG game. He does, again, tend to be hyper aggressive, which I think in general, that's how you should play Zerg anyway. So, and beyond that, eOnzErG does have a very strong macro game. I mean, we've seen his mechanics. You know, everyone knows he's a fast player. He's a solid player. Can play very, very good long games, but he does tend to just go for the throat early on. He does have killer Mutalisk micro. And OyA in PvZ, actually, he has a very strong PvZ. You know, we saw him kind of dismantle Siki earlier in the tournament. And hold that thought, because the game's already ready.
So in the top right, it is our last remaining Zerg. Of course, it is eOnzErG.
In the bottom left, in that sexy magenta, it is OyA.
Yeah, so last time we saw this play out, we had OyA top right, eOnzErG bottom left. OyA did go for Zealot pressure, and something happened where his Nat got compromised. I think multiple links snuck into the main, and he just could never get the SimCity up. Now, bottom middle or bottom left, I think, is a better position to wall for Protoss. I think, as a non-Protoss player, I'm not completely sure, but I think Forge is tight with the egg on the left side, and I think Gateway is tight on the right side, so you really only have to defend just that one particular spot. Now, we don't know if OyA is going for Forge or Gate. Okay, now the probe is coming back, so it's going to be Gateway opener again.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. You never know. It does, yeah, that does look like a gate. eOnzErG going for. I actually wasn't paying attention. Is that yeah, it's an overpull.
That's overpull.
So, very standard here from both players. We'll have to see how many Zerglings eOnzErG chooses to make. But in general, this has been the most standard opening in ZvP. Gate first versus overpull. Very stable for both players. Though there is chances for the situation to quickly snowball out of control. And you have to remember, man, OyA was the one that busted out the proxy gates against Siki, right? The proxy double gate into that fast 3-gate pressure. And OyA does do this probe block routinely. Goes straight to the third to build his second pylon there to block it. And then he comes to the natural to block this. Putting down a pylon, that's really annoying as eOnzErG. His hatchery is going to be super delayed.
Yeah, and what's the response going to be from eOnzErG? The Ling should be popping out pretty soon. Once he gets over here, he's going to see the bad news that this is already blocked. Now, even though it is blocked, you have to remember that this is double pylon. It is, okay, it does get canceled, but that is, you know, an investment for the Protoss. But because he's got the Zealot over on the coming out, you know, the Lings can't instantly go over there. And this is also a lot of lost potential larva for eOnzErG. So definitely eOnzErG's getting the short end of the stick. And I love how he hid the probe. So he's going to block it again. And this is eOnzErG stuck on one hatch at the 3-minute mark. He's just going to build a forward hatch as he has to, right? Like, what else is he going to do? And this drone hasn't even returned either. So this is lost mining time.
Yeah, he's tilted, man. You know he's tilted. And sending these Lings across the map, I feel like I mean, it just got instantly punished by that second pylon block. And now eOnzErG, basically, he has to take another hatchery. Well, he can't really mine with that hatchery, Nyokin, because it's so far to the left that you can't even mine minerals with that. So,
yeah,
I don't know, man. This is disaster town already. I'm suspecting he's probably just going to go for a Ling Flood or something.
Yep, my eyes are completely locked on the minerals and gas. As soon as I see 100 gas get used, if it's not 150 minerals, I'm feeling like this game's already won for OyA because it's going to be a Ling Flood. We already know that there is a considerable amount of Lings already built. Looks like, so far, no gas has been spent, so we still don't know whether it's going to be lair or speed. He has pulled off of gas, so it seems like he is going to transition. Lings are trading decently well. I think that's about as well as you're going to trade in a funnel like that. No, 2 more drones are not mining for eOnzErG.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a nightmare to be in. eOnzErG really does not have any other plan other than to all in this, because, I mean, he could go into 5 hatchery before lair to just get that hatchery down at the natural ASAP to actually mine from it. But he's actually just going to mine from that furthermost mineral patch, and it looks like he's just going to go for a Hydra Den. Now, this is definitely not just a 973 because you don't have anywhere to put the 7 drones there. So, like, 100% this is going to be a Hydra bust. And OyA already has a probe out onto the map, so you know for a fact he is definitely going to scout. You know, I mean, just not scouting that there's no natural, right? Like, no extra hatchery at the natural. You know probably something's up, given the fact also that eOnzErG has made a bunch of Lings.
Yeah, Lings too. Oh, he's going to see more Lings on the right side, but of course he has to build more Lings in case there's a Zealot move out. Now, Probe does come in here. Can it get into... Oh, no. Well, eOnzErG is in big-time trouble now. Hydra Den gets scouted. Off-location hatchery at the natural. Third base, of course, he doesn't know the drone count there, but seeing that amount of Lings, you can probably just imagine that this has to be a bust. Now, I noticed that his cybernetics was way far along. Citadel's halfway done. So it feels like OyA just has it in the bag unless there's some catastrophic engagement.
I mean, the fact that eOnzErG is mining from this hatchery is... it is really funny to see. I mean, those workers are really not efficient. It is creative though. He isn't going for the straight all in, which I think OyA had a clear game plan against. He made nonstop gate or zealots, delayed his nexus, got the cannons out. So ling all in was virtually impossible. But the fact that he's transitioning into a 973 with a completely shot natural base here. I mean, he's losing so many minerals every passing minute here. He has way fewer minerals than he should have. And he is just going to play for a macro game here, but with this hatchery being so delayed, you know, the thing is he could have gotten the hatchery before the Hydra Den or something like that. He could have went straight into 5 hatch before Hydra Den, transferred most of his drones to the third base first rather than natural, and then he would have been playing a decent game from there. But the fact that he chose to get this Hydra Den, I think probably, you know, obviously he's changed his mind about going Hydras because it got scouted, right? I think probably his original plan was to ling all in, but then he saw OyA was more than prepared for it. Then he tried to mix it up, get the Hydra Den down, go for a Hydra bust. Then he saw OyA scouted that as well, and now his only choice is to go into a macro game. So you really can't fault his decision making there, but it is a really difficult spot to be in.
Yeah, I like this move from eOnzErG going into the 5 hatch, not going to risk going for a 3 hatch bust. And I have to point out that he's forced out a decent amount of cannons. He also knows that Sarah is not out. So he knows what the tech is, right? He knows that it's Citadel. So he does have his 3 bases. He does have 5 hatches. If he sits behind Sunkens, you know, he's going to have great econ. I don't think he's necessarily out of it at this point, as long as he gets those Sunkens down. I don't see any at the third base. He's skimping out on Hydras, so the third base might be compromised right now.
Yeah, and here comes the Zealot push here. One Sunken up in time. Not SimCity though, but this is non-+1 upgraded Zealot, so the Hydra lane composition is going to do just fine. Holding the ramp though is really good for the Protoss player. The Hydras are missing a lot. The Zealots are getting aggroed by that one Hydralisk behind the mineral patches there, so not getting on top of the drones just yet. This is a lot of Zealots though. The Hydras are having a hard time dealing with the initial group of units here, and that group of units is buying time for these Zealots in the middle line to get some kills onto the drones, but finally they do get cleaned up. And eOnzErG, you know, when all is said and done, he's up at he's up to 5 hatcheries. He's got decent saturation at his bases. The big problem for him now is that he doesn't have Alair. He doesn't have tech coming in just yet. He doesn't have upgrades, the range upgrades. So definitely his infrastructure is still lagging behind as a result of this early game, but he is making ground. You know, he's making up the ground that he lost by having this 5 hatchery going with the econ, with the drone saturation.
Yeah, he did manage to save his drones at the third base. I don't think he lost really any, maybe like 1 or 2. Hydras do kill off a couple of Zealots there, may be able to pick off some more. No, that's way too many Zealots, so those are going to be pushed back. Now, we know that there's no lair, but OyA doesn't know that. So he doesn't know that there's no lurkers anytime soon. So he may be feeling not confident about making a secondary follow-up pretty soon with even just like 2 Templars. More Zealots have bled off, and that's going to get eOnzErG more and more back into this game. A forward Templar could be potentially picked off. There's a nice Zealot counterattack to top middle. This time, nope, he's not going to find success either, because more Hydras coming in from the back, and that's going to be shut down, and he's going to now see 6 hatches. And if you're Protoss at this point, you should start getting worried, because that's going to be a lot of production coming in.
Dude, Arakel, with the $10. Thanks so much, man. Zerg power indeed. eOnzErG is gonna need some of that Zerg power channeled into him, because he still has some ways to make, you know, he still has some whatever. Has to catch back a bit, dude. I don't know what he's still a bit behind, guys. Okay, just a tiny bit behind, but he is making progress here. And this Hydra count is absolutely incredible. And the fact that he's defended very well against a lot of OyA's harassment, be it with the Zealot timing or with the trying to sneak in DTs, and he completely shut down all of those plays, means that, you know, finally he has great econ here, and he has a bunch of Hydras. So really, and OyA doesn't have that many units, and I don't think his gateway count is up to scratch. He does have a couple of Storms here, but only 2 Templar. Not sure he's actually queuing up anymore. So suddenly this game is looking really not good for Protoss. Wait, eOnzErG is ahead in supply.
eOnzErG is completely in control of this game. He has so many Hydras. He's gonna pop all of these cannons. He's gonna pop these goons too, because they don't have range. Look, the Hydras are dealing damage without getting hit back. Sure, there's a great concave, but that's gonna be a dead gate, dead forge, so that's gonna be nullified upgrades. I think Protoss has +1, but that just opens the, now that he's popped down the gate, he can just jump on these Dragoons. There's a couple going down, and this looks like exactly the Sylphid game where there's a goon switch, but there's just an overwhelming amount of Hydras. How did eOnzErG do it?
Yeah, how did he do it? That was insane for eOnzErG. He's going to be feeling so good about this game. Somehow just manages to come back from that opening. I have no idea how he did that. You know, to be completely honest with you, I think OyA was a bit too overzealous transitioning into this Dragoon count. You really want to stay on Zealots to get the Templars out, to get your infrastructure out. And he didn't stay on Zealots long enough, and he's GGing out here. Definitely going to be frustrated with that game there, but eOnzErG, man, just pulls one out of the hat.
Yeah, you look at the opener and you're just like, what? How does Zerg win from here? There's no larva for him. He's stuck on one hatch for 3 minutes. And then one of the hatches aren't even on location. It's crazy how far of a lead OyA got there. I think the goon switch was fine. He moved out multiple times with zealots and they died to hydras. So there was like 30 supply gone right there. If you keep those zealots alive, it's all of a sudden 75 supply versus 105, right? Like, yeah. There's a ton of zealots comboed with those goons. So I think that was a bit of a misstep there from OyA, but regardless, the early stages looked really good. But also eOnzErG looks really good, because when you have an opener like that, if it's me, I'm not happy. I'm already tilted. I'm already thinking about going into game 2. So for him to win there, that's going to be great for his mental.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm sure he was tilted at some point in that game, man. Like, no doubt about it. But he kept it together and just played the game out and came out ahead. And, you know, I think stylistically, this is a really hard matchup for OyA. We saw OyA in the tournament do really well against other Zergs, right? Like, he was in that all Zerg group with Gornich, True Touch, and Siki. But all three of those players are much kind of lower tempo Zerg players. They give a lot of space to the Protoss to kind of macro up and get into that mid game situation. Polypoid is going to be the second map. I'm not going to finish that thought. We'll get into the game first. Let's get into it.
So, bottom right in the blue, we have our Protoss player from Sweden. It is OyA.
Top left in the green from Belgium, it is eOnzErG. As the Zerg, of course. But yeah, I mean, OyA has looked really strong in PvZ, playing some of these other top Zerg players. But the difference between those Zerg players and eOnzErG is that they're a lot more passive, right? They are a lot more kind of macro-heavy players. They're always rushing straight to lurkers, trying to take more bases, and really giving Protoss more time to establish themselves. But eOnzErG is extremely more high tempo. You know, he's in your face all the time, whether it's with early Lings, early Hydras, even Mulisks. He plays very well in the early game, and as Zerg should, because Protoss really does have a hard time establishing that early mid-game presence. And OyA, just so far in a lot of his games against eOnzErG, has not navigated that space correctly, and he's getting completely punished here.
Well, speaking of high tempo, this is a 9 pool, and that is not a canceled gas. So this could be speedlings. Well, it's going to be speedlings, and eOnzErG is going to put on the pressure onto OyA very quickly. Now we've got to keep an eye on this probe because it's heading towards the center. Now I don't know if it's going to be for proxy because he hasn't scouted him yet, and he's always followed. Oop, okay, pylon in the main, so not going to be any proxy shenanigans. But eOnzErG, I don't think he's be feeling too good about opening speed here versus cross spawns. What do you think about this? Is this still okay? Because, you know, at least he's going to have speed to face the zealots.
Yeah, I mean, this is fine. He's, you know, going for this 9 pool speed build is actually really strong against Gate First because it completely shuts it down. And then Protoss needs to get a Forge out ASAP. You know, because the reality is that when you get these Zerglings out really early, not only do you have more than enough to deal with the first Zealot, but then you start hitting the gateway, and if you're threatening to kill that gateway, well, guess what? Not only does that create a huge hole in your wall, which allows the Zerglings to just pour through, but it also basically kills your only production building, and you won't have any Zealots to actually deal with these Zerglings. So definitely need to get a cannon up here ASAP. Now, again, like you said, it is cross spawn, so this bought a lot of time for OyA. You know, the cannon is already en route here, but eOnzErG, oh my god, he actually slips in.
Yeah, he gets in 4 lings, and we saw this play out on Eclipse where he had multiple lings get in, and he did a ling flood with it. He just hit from the front, and then the Lings taking hits from the front allowed for the Lings in the back to kill the cannon. Now, luckily for OyA, I'm going to say luckily because it's never lucky to have Speedlings in your main just running rampant. But luckily for him, eOnzErG is droning behind this. There are no more Lings in production. Oh, I take that back. I did see one drone, but now more Lings are being made. OyA saw it with the probe, but we don't know if he really saw it, so this could get dangerous. A Zealot has moved out, and because of all this lost mining time, I don't know if he's going to be able to plug that hole at the natural once this Zealot goes down.
This is such a weird game, Nyokin, because the Protoss still hasn't taken his Nexus or his natural. He has to build a cannon in the base before doing that. But at the same time, eOnzErG is actually expanding to the mineral only instead of the gas third, which is an interesting decision from him. And he is making a bunch of more Lings behind this, but not really using them to kill this front or doing any damage with them. So that's going to be good for OyA, because you can see the drone count isn't necessarily as good as it could be. But, you know, I do wonder who is ahead after this. I mean, you definitely don't want to be making double cannon like this before your Nexus, but at the same time, given the fact that eOnzErG committed so heavily to making Lings, and also given the fact that eOnzErG took a kind of unideal third, you know, with that mineral only. You have to remember the mineral only actually has fewer mineral patches as well than the gas third base. So it just means that your econ in general is not going to be quite as good as if he had taken 12 o'clock.
Well, this is a crucial scout for OyA, and it's not going to be denied by the Lings despite the Overlord seeing it. Because when you're in a position like this where eOnzErG has speed, there was an opening at the front of your base. You don't know what the heck this guy is doing. So for the probe to get in, well, I think this is enough to see, because at least he sees that drones were going to the natural. At least, you know, there's going to be drones there, right? There's not a lack of drones. So at least he knows he's not getting all in. And eOnzErG is going to be powering behind it. I see that he's got 300 minerals, 200 gas. I think he started his lair. Yeah, he has started the lair. 4th hatch going up, 5th hatch going to be coming up pretty soon. And that's a Stargate coming down from OyA. So at least he will be able to scout the Zerg in the next few minutes.
Yeah, his tech timing is very nice here for OyA. So definitely has that going for him. And again, the Stargate is done, or is started decently before the Spire. This is, again, cross spawns though, so I do doubt that the Corsair is going to be able to get too many Overlord kills here, but definitely at least one, which is going to set back the Zerg a bit. But, you know, at the same time, this is a nice situation for eOnzErG. Look at how much time he has to get his hatcheries going. And the reality is that OyA actually, he's making more cannons. He spent a bunch of minerals on Zealots, and he's not doing anything with these Zealots. Meanwhile, eOnzErG's just been droning nonstop since the early game, since the 12 Lings that he made in total. So really, he's getting into such a massive lead just off the back of Protoss making 6 Zealots and not pressuring with them, and, you know, having to make 4 cannons. Yeah, this is just not looking good for OyA. Now, granted, I mean, obviously, the game is far from being over or anything like that, but just getting into the mid game here, Zerg is in a dream position.
Yeah, OyA continuously pumping out Zealots. You know he's going to be going for a timing pretty soon. First Zerg moving out. He's going to see the bad news that Spire's already done. May even get intercepted instantly by a couple of Scourge. Couple Sunkens are going up at the natural and third base too, so those bases cannot be broken. I think one of those buildings at the third base had to be Evolution Chamber or Hydra Den. Nope. 6 hatch even. So no Hydra. Okay, there's the Hydra. I was waiting to see it. So 6 hatches already. eOnzErG's crushing it right now. And those are not Scourge. Those are Mutalisks.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm wondering how quick is the Citadel? Because, you know, one of the things about getting this many Zealots early on, sure, if you don't pressure with them, it feels bad, but at least you can bank them for a really quick speedlock attack. But we're nearing 8 minutes here, and these Zealots still haven't done anything from the early game. Really, just in general, these openings have not favored OyA. at all, and it's giving so much time to eOnzErG to do whatever he wants to get the economy, that unstoppable Zerg economy. Pretty soon, eOnzErG is going to be able to take 12 o'clock. Now, what's, you know, the unfortunately for eOnzErG, he still doesn't have access to that third gas, but he doesn't necessarily need it just yet if he makes nonstop Hydras and just Hydra upgrades. And he only made 4 Mutalisks here, which is actually something that eOnzErG does quite a bit. You know, he doesn't overcommit on the mutas, but he's going to make a couple of them just to force Protoss back, just to continuously make, or force Corsair production and force a couple of cannons. That was a uncharacteristic pull there by eOnzErG, getting a bit fumbled up as he macros back at home. But yeah, man, I mean, this push here from OyA is going to be scary. He's going to have a bunch of Corsairs with a bunch of Zealots. This can do a lot of damage. eOnzErG is still kind of in the process of building up his infrastructure, but I mean, if this doesn't do the damage that it needs to do, Zerg is going to be in such a massive position.
Yeah, to already have 6 hatches up and running for this long, to have this saturation, like behind the mutas, he didn't instantly build Hydras. I saw him build a round of drones. His drone count is probably very similar to the probe count. Like, it's crazy how many drones this guy has. +1 weapon might kick in for Zerg by the time Protoss gets across the map, and so they're going to be even on upgrades. I only see 1 Templar out, so there's not massive amounts of Storm available either. Top right being taken from eOnzErG. Now that is a very far away base, so that might be easy pickings for OyA, but here comes the first attack. It's 5 Sares, I think 1 control group of Zealots, but no Storm in this army, and he's going to be fighting uphill.
Yeah, and this attack is, I mean, it's just so late here. I mean, the Zealots are going to come in here. They do connect on top of the Hydralisks. I do wonder if they have +1, though. It does help. Yeah, they do have +1, so definitely going to be doing damage to these Hydras. But honestly, the Hydralisk count is already so high that they completely melt the Zealots. And behind this, I'm assuming OyA, yeah, he does have a couple of Templar back at home. You do want to be making the Templar as your Zealots are out, pushing out and pressuring the Zerg. But you know, this might buy OyA a third base here. He did put on a decent amount of pressure, forced a couple of units here. And it is polypoid. It's hard for Zerg to attack up this high ground with pure Hydras here, with the Storm as well coming into play. Nice Storm on top of a clump of Hydras, and the Zealots, I mean, overwhelming numbers for the Protoss player, going to be able to push this back easily. And importantly, OyA does have his Corsairs still alive, so they're going to be covering for Templar in the future in terms of just denying possible muta switches from eOnzErG. And it looks like eOnzErG, I mean, he is, again, another signature move of his, does have a lot of guerrilla tactics with the Hydra groups here, trying to pick off, you know, whatever he can, cannons, Templar, Zealots. But so far, man, I mean, I am surprised that eOnzErG's taking top right instead of mid right, or 12 o'clock.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. This base is so far away. I'm imagining a world where that base just instantly gets taken out. But that could be what eOnzErG wants. We'll get into that, because eOnzErG attacking the third base again, but it's like uphill, as you said. I think he still has some Storm available, but the Zealots are way far forward. eOnzErG making it very weird with some Hydras in the back. Maybe he does pick off a Templar. And remember, eOnzErG's on 6 hatch production, so this Hydra count can get scarily big very, very fast. The Zealots are super, super low, but now Goons are coming out. They're going to have high ground advantage. Obviously, they're going to be ranged, so they're going to definitely be able to turn the tides in favor of OyA the next time eOnzErG makes a move like that. Big drone cycle coming in for eOnzErG. It looks like maybe like 5 or 6. He's going to transfer them to top right. Now, what do you think is the logic with the top right? Because as soon as I saw it, I was thinking, well, if OyA makes a commitment up there, instant counterattack from eOnzErG and just wipe the Nat or the third base. But instead, it looks like both players are just going to be content trying to fight over this third base. Lurkers are now getting up into position. I don't see observers out just yet, so OyA can't really engage onto the low ground, but for now, he's holding strong.
eOnzErG being a bit too overzealous here with the attacks. You know,
if cannon goes down, there's no vision.
Oh, that's right. There's no observers, and actually somehow he does push through here. That's really surprising to me because I mean, Protoss had the high ground, and clearly I was wrong there somehow. How did that even work, man? He just pushed up the high ground with not too many Hydralisks. Really surprising there. No observers just yet, and really this game is starting to fall apart for the Protoss because losing that third base is massive. Meanwhile, eOnzErG securing his fourth base. Not only that, he's going to have more time to get hatcheries up. I mean, look at this macro, man. Like, this is what I'm talking about. eOnzErG plays a beautiful long macro game if he sets himself up just right, which is why it's weird sometimes, you know, when he gets overly aggressive, because really he just looks so strong in these macro game situations. And at this point, I mean, just look at how many hatcheries are in production. Oh my God, he's taking the entire base, making a bunch of units everywhere, green all over the map.
The observatory like just finished like a couple seconds ago, so observers are just now gonna come out, and eOnzErG is about to have a supply lead. Now that is a lot of goons, but he needed that observer, you know, a minute ago. He may be able to win the fight here. eOnzErG did get blocked. Okay, that's only one overlord, so he's not gonna get punished, but eOnzErG just has so much production. He has 10 hatches now, man. 10. Yeah. And he's gonna have 6 bases. We don't know if he has Hive, but he has his evolution chamber for so long. Like, OyAG's about to be mined out in his main and natural, maybe like 2 or 3 minutes, and then all he has left is bottom middle, going up against 5 base, 6 base Zerg.
Yeah, I mean, OyA still has some time though. He is mining at his main and natural still. He can afford to get another Nexus at his mineral only again and go into 4 bases here. So you know, he still has some fighting chances here, but definitely this game is favoring heavily the Zerg. Now, one thing that is going OyAG's way is that eOnzErG still has yet to get a Queen's Nest here. So, you know, for example, +3 range isn't going to be anywhere near done. The Filers aren't going to be out anytime soon. But, I mean, that being said, Zerg's economy is just so insane right now. It's hard to even deal with the lair-based army.
Yeah, there's just so much eOnzErG. 105 supply for OyAG, 105 for eOnzErG. He has the high ground now, and there's no support for these goons. All the zealots got killed. Well, now there's reinforcements, but you know eOnzErG's going to have reinforcements pretty soon. Now supplies are under 100 for OyAG. Still matching 105 supply is eOnzErG, and these units have been pushed back all the way to the forge. eOnzErG is going to see that the third base is up and running, but a probe pull, and now he's going to start losing probes too. Meanwhile, eOnzErG, as I mentioned before, 10 hatch, 6 bases. He didn't even care about these hydras. He just wants to get some damage done anywhere, whether it's goons, whether it's zealots, or probes in this scenario. And he's done a good job to keep the Templar count very low. I've only seen 2 Templars at a time, and that's all you see there. There's no mass storm anywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
this is like a perfect game from eOnzErG almost. Like, he's taken bases, he's kept Protoss on the back foot, he's not letting them get critical mass at any point. He's just playing it basically how you should play it as Zerg.
Yeah, he's looking really strong. Yeah, I mean, just completely obliterating OyA this game. Doesn't look like OyA is going to have much fight left in him now. As his supply plummets, his units just aren't there. No Templar banked up for Storm. Pure Hydra just so hard to deal with when you don't have that critical mass as Protoss. And expecting a GG now. Any minute, there it is. He taps out. OyAG down 0-2 versus eOnzErG. And I must say, it does go back to the builds, man. Like, OyA really kind of just did not navigate that early game successfully. He banked up a bunch of zealots, but did nothing with them. Really, I mean, that was 600 minerals. If you continuously produce out of your gateway, you're delaying. I mean, his natural was already delayed from getting the cannons, but that's fine because it is against 9 full speed. eOnzErG did make a lot of lings early on, and you need the zealots in combination with the cannons to not die to a random ling flood like that. But he continuously made zealots after that and didn't pressure the Zerg. He kind of just sat in his base, and not just that, but by not pressuring the Zerg, he had no scouting information. So we saw him add even 2 more cannons to his front, and that all chewed into his build. Whereas eOnzErG was just droning nonstop, getting his hatcheries online, getting his tech online. And really, OyA was never in a position to contest that game just from the builds alone. And really, it's just from those initial zealots, like the 6 zealots just kind of chilling there. He went in a Stargate. I wonder if he went like a fast Citadel in that situation to get speed up. Or really, I just think you need to push out with some of those zealots once you establish your front. Because when you know it's 9 pool like that from Zerg, their econ, like they don't have that much larva to work with. 9 pool speed especially. The hatcheries come in so late that, you know, as soon as you know that you've staved off the initial lings, just push out with 3 zealots. You know, keep 2 zealots there to wall your base. But definitely keeping all those 6 zealots there was a blunder, I think.
Well, he did move out with 1 zealot after the lings got in. Remember, there were 6 lings just laying and waiting, and he surrounded it and killed the zealot instantly. So, you know, eOnzErG did nullify a potential counter threat from OyA. I thought once OyA got his 3rd base up and running, once he had goons on the high ground, I thought, well, I don't see how Hydra Lurker is going to bust this. But then when we check and see the observatory is not even done, oh man, a nightmare for OyA. And well, this could potentially be OyA's last hope. He's putting it on Benzene, where Protoss has done very well. So let's see, can he recover, or is this a 3-0 for eOnzErG? In the top right, in the yellow, he needs your energy, chat. It is OyA.
And in the top right, or bottom left rather, in the green, it is eOnzErG.
So Benzene, we've been, you know, talking about how Benzene is a great Zerg map, but they just have not, I don't think we've seen a single win from Zerg on this particular map. Now, we haven't gotten it often, but what do you think is the reasoning behind that? Like, why are we not seeing more success with the Hydras?
We've just seen Protoss dominate this map, or dominate this tournament, really. I think it's not about the maps or whatever. It's just the Protoss players have been playing better. Benzene is a good Zerg map. You know, it's so open for Mutalisk Harass, and the rush distances, you know, there's really good defensive positions for Zerg to take in order to take more bases. And we've even seen Soma in ASL have a very nice approach to this map with the early 2-hatch Spire into a very clean macro game and holding the bridges at the high grounds. That's a really sick plan or strategy really for Zerg, but it's just so insane to execute it like Soma did. So I do wonder what eOnzErG is going to do this game. You know,
well, pylon block did not happen, but this is going to give OyA 12 Nexus. We're going to see how much he can streamline this. If I'm in this position as Protoss, this is the dream, right? Like, this is going to be a gate follow-up. He doesn't need Forge. He doesn't need Cannon. His tech is going to be so far along in comparison to the previous games. Now, I'm wondering what eOnzErG's follow-up is to this. Are we going to see 5-hatch or 6-hatch before gas like we saw on Eclipse? Is this going to be lair follow-up? What's your preferred choice here?
I mean, I think without a doubt on this map, you go lair. You know, it's hard to pressure the Protosses. That's one thing that Protoss has going for themselves on this map, is that the rush distances, again, are huge. The natural is tiny. So the early game should be pretty easy, or much easier than most maps to navigate. But once you get into fast tech builds as Zerg, you're representing so much. I mean, it could be Mulus, it could be drops, it could be just straight up standard play. And on this map, drops and Mulus, just air in general, is just so good given the layout of the main base, given the layout of the main base kind of just the amount of space you have to work with drops and with air units. So I really do prefer tech here, and it looks like that's what eOnzErG is going to do, getting his gas. And OyA also with the more passive Nexus first, and also getting the gate out earlier than the Forge means he's going to be able to get the core down much faster. It's going to be really good for him too.
So we do have third hatch going up for eOnzErG at the minute only. He is going lair, as you mentioned. Cybernetics has started. Still no cannon for OyA, so he's streamlining that so much, getting the Cybernetics even before that first cannon. First Zealot is moving out, and I am noticing that no vision for eOnzErG at the natural, so he, of course, is not going to see this. He's going to suspect it, but doesn't know exactly. His first two lings are moving across the map, so not going to intercept it either. So this could be a way for OyA to kind of start snowballing the game in his favor, get some drone kills potentially, at least force drone pulls. But I think eOnzErG is ready. We do see two lings are already in the main. Probes are in position. I was wondering if the lings would get here in time, and they may actually be able to sneak into the main. No, probe control is great. And that Zealot is actually going to find success in the natural. Oh, no, it's not. 4 lings already pre-made.
Yeah, but at the same time, the Zealot coming in here, he does scout the drone saturation. He does, I mean, he kind of knows what's up. Doesn't see the second gas there for eOnzErG, which would have been going up if if it was going to be kind of quick mutalisks here. So definitely gets a lot of info with that. And just in general, OyA's build here is absolutely insane. Getting away with the Nexus first, getting away with the gate before Nexus, and not just that, getting away with the core before cannon, and now getting the Zealot in to get some further scouting information. This is about as accelerated as a build as you'll have. It's about, it's just the most accelerated version of the PvZ build, honestly. This Stargate is already en route, and no Spire just yet for eOnzErG. At least if he started it, it's very late here. So
ooh,
OyA
nice move.
Oh yeah, with the Zealot, he just kind of went around there.
Yeah, he gets a drone, and there's another one going to the natural. Lings are completely across the map, and now he's got to balance, like, okay, where do I defend? Do I defend the nat? Do I defend the third base? So OyA, not only with one of the most optimal streamlined builds you could possibly get, now he's getting harassment done, and this is going to put him in an amazing position. He finds us another drone, so that's 2 drones down for him. And maybe a third or fourth. That Zealot is still alive. It has 4 kills, and there's another Zealot coming too.
Yeah, I mean, this is massive damage from OyA. This is insane amounts of damage with just the 1 gate. And the Zealots are so delayed too. They're like coming in later than usual. You would expect eOnzErG to have this on lockdown, but he's just losing so many drones, and he's already at a build order disadvantage. So this is going to be absolutely terrible for him. The Corsairs are on their way. He's got 2 already, I think. And they're going to be just eating up Overlords for breakfast. +1 air weapons also on the way. No Spire just yet. So eOnzErG just went into the lair and decided to go into hatchery production early, but he's going to get punished at this point. He only has a couple of Hydras. These Corsairs are only going to keep increasing in count. Every Overlord they get is going to be, is going to massively set back eOnzErG. He's struggling to get just drones out, get units out, and now he's going to have to get more Overlords out, which costs a lot of money. He doesn't have his 5th hatchery just yet. Meanwhile, OyA at his base, adding more gates, making more units, getting everything on time. Oh my god, dude. Nightmare situation here for Zerg.
Well, at least eOnzErG isn't supply blocked just yet, so he can still build some units. 4 gate are done for OyA. I don't know if those are more gates in the back, but that is a second forge in his main. So he's going to have 2-1 pretty quickly, or 1-1 since the forward forge is not spinning. 30 supply lead already for OyA. He knows the amount of damage, and you can see that he recognizes it, because that's going to be a third base going up very quickly for OyA at the 8-minute mark. That's almost unheard of in PvZ. Sayers are still alive too, but that's something that I was not expecting. Lurkers are out, and this can be a game changer because there's no observatory in sight.
Yeah, the robotics is not on time here, and in general, this is kind of a surprise move from Zerg. You don't really need observers this early. Very few Zerg players go straight for Lurkers. And the thing is, there's only 1 cannon at the natural, so there is a world where somehow, some way, eOnzErG kills the Protoss player with just this, but I think he's only going to delay the third Nexus.
No, this is...
Oh, he's going around to...
He can go through the back. This is benzene. He has no idea that this is coming. It went unscouted. He's not showing it at the front.
Oh my
The Sayers didn't catch it either. And as long as eOnzErG doesn't accidentally misfire onto like the pylon or something. Oh no, okay, it's in range to focus it down. So still no idea from OyA, and once
oh my god,
like I think this game's over because there's no cannons in the main. He can deny the nat 2. He can deny every single base by sitting on the high ground or sitting in the middle line at the main.
Yeah, we'll have to see what he does exactly with these 3 lurkers. Does he just
oh my god
burrow them all onto the natural? Does he send 2 to the main, 1 at the natural? I would like to. That's nice right there.
Oh
He's
my.
actually gonna make this happen. That's so many probes going down.
smokes.
These lurkers are just completely demolishing that, and now getting into the main base as well. OyA, his heart is sinking at this point because he realizes, look, he doesn't even have a robotics building. He has no way of stopping these lurkers from killing his entire mineral line, and now that triggers basically a counterattack from OyA, and these lurkers are killing every single probe ever made. My god, Nyoken, I was not expecting this.
Well, he has a huge army as a counterattack, but if there's any lurkers, he can't be denied. Hydras are getting engaged on by these zealots, the goons. Oh, he just taps out instantly without even fighting. So a game that OyA had a huge build order win. eOnzErG ends up stealing it with the lurker counterattack sneakily hiding from the Sayers.
Yeah. I mean, that was the most 500 IQ move I've ever seen. And that wasn't the only game eOnzErG pulled a fast one onto OyA, right? Like the first game as well. It was the same thing there against like on the clips, right? Like OyA just had that sick opening, pylon blocking all the bases. Somehow eOnzErG won that game. Somehow eOnzErG wins this game. Just insanity, dude. That was really unexpected.
Yeah, like we just cut away and there's 3 lurkers. I'm like, what? How did I miss that?
Yeah.
And then you realize that, wait a minute, this is not Eclipse. This is not Polypoid. Like he can just run around the map. Oh my gosh. So that's a heartbreaking loss for OyA, and he's going to be kicking himself in game 1. Definitely going to be kicking himself in game 3, regardless of whether he would have built a robo in place of the Nexus. You definitely know he's going to be thinking like, oh man, that was way too greedy to go for Nexus there. So a bit unlucky from OyA, but he has an amazing showing in BSL. He ends up getting 4th place. That's a very, very high finish in BSL. And I don't know how BSL 10 is going to work going into BSL 11, but generally when you make it into the top 4, you're automatically qualified into the next season. So that's a potential there for OyA. So nicely done. But we're going to now have at least 1 Zerg into the top 3. So we are saved from having an all PvP day tomorrow.